right? We can all be working at the same place, and because we haven't experienced a certain thing, right? Or maybe we've always had a voice, we've always been able to activate our voice, we've never been silent. So that can't be happening to Minda in the workplace, right? Because we don't see that two things can be true at the same time. Some people can be thriving in the workplace and some can just be surviving. So I think it's so important to say, you know what, let me hear what she has to say. Let me educate myself so that I can learn, so that I can be aware of these things, so I can be part of the solution, right? So it's not about just saying, oh, well, you know, that's a problem, but how can you be part of it? But you can't be part of the solution if you're not even aware that it's a problem. We can all partner on this road to success, right? It doesn't have to be either or, right? It can be yes and you know, one of the things that a great example of being a success partner is you, right? You don't know me, you know what I mean? We don't have like a relationship outside of this, but you read the book, you resonated with it. You said, you know what? Leadership is important. Equity is important. Let me have this conversation, use my sphere of influence, right? It doesn't take away your sphere of influence, right? It brings more people to the conversation, and we all have a sphere where we can be a success partner for someone, right? And so I thank you for your leadership, because I think some people think you have to like climb up to the top of the Empire State Building to make change, right? And it's the little acts within our day that we can advance someone else's cause as well as advancing our own. And so allyship is great, but when you look back on when some of our listeners are looking back on the year 2020, what did you do that if somebody were to go back and say, you know what, you were an ally in that moment, can you go back and point out where you've actually activated your allyship? So now you know you want to be one, but what does it look like to activate? The definition of courage is the ability to do something that frightens one. And so courage, it takes some activation, right? And when I think about courage, I think about who will benefit if I'm courageous? And then I'll ask myself the other question, who will benefit if I'm cautious? And many people won't benefit if I'm cautious, right? If I don't lean into my courage and push aside my caution, then nobody benefits. And I think about all the leaders current leaders and those who come before us, they had to activate their courage, right? So that the workplace could be beneficiaries of that. And I think that when we interrogate and investigate, what will courage get, not just myself, but those who I work with, right? And those who come behind me and work in this environment, how am I making workplace better than I found it? And I find that when we're courageous, so many more people benefit, right? I often think about, and it doesn't mean you won't be nervous. It just means that you know that there's so much more on the line if you lean into that courage. And every time I've had to be courageous, Brian, I've been nervous, but it's always been worth it. When you're courageous, you may not always get the outcome that you're looking for, but it's still the right move, right? It's still helping people. And I often think about people like, because we're kind of in a political climate, but Shirley Chisholm, for example, right? She was courageous. She ran for president, but it didn't happen for her, but her courage, so many of us are beneficiaries of her leadership for taking that step, right? And so you might not be alive to see how people are benefit from it, but you know that courage is so important. And we have so many people that have come before us, and it's because of their courage that you and I can even have this conversation. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, courage is a beautiful thing.